What is good, everyone? Welcome into Truth Podcast. Today we are on episode 11. That's right. Last week I had some allergies, so that's why you didn't see me post anything. But they're almost gone, and I'm here to keep going on with this final season. We're going to talk about who will fight and destroy Azazel, the fallen angel. Where's the Kaaba from? And what's the power source that draws many Muslims to it? If you don't know what the Kaaba is, it is a black cube in Saudi Arabia. Excuse me. Isn't it interesting? There is a black cube that's used heavily throughout the occult world. Yeah, Muslims think has anything to do with God. Yeah, okay. We're also going to talk about the Egig Ero Fa tree. Where does Hollywood and the video game industry get their ideas from other than different galaxies? We're going to talk about alchemy roots. We're going to talk about a video game called Borderlands and its origination, as well as the galaxy that it's from. We're also going to talk about numerous other galaxies, like Andromeda, Milky Way, which is what we're in. Eye of Sauron, yes, which is an actual galaxy. Its scientific name is NGC 4151. There's also another one called UFO Galaxy. That scientific name is NGC 2683. As well as NGC 5128, which is Centaurus A, and its satellite systems. Then we're going to talk about Jades-GS-Z-14-0. So there's not an actual name for that other than that scientific name. With that being said, let's go ahead, jump right into this. Okay, so first and foremost is, who will fight and destroy Azazel? First and foremost, Yeshua HaMashiach. Because this is the final judgment and eternal binding of Azazel under Yeshua's authority. Because he holds all dominion over principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions. Like in Colossians 2:15. I mean, he already stripped away Azazel's authority lawfully at the cross. But the enforcement of the judgment unfolds in time through sons and kings aligned with Shemaim. We're going to have an appointed man aside from Yeshua. This man will be going through the north gate. In some ancient scrolls, there's mention of a man assigned to the North Gate, bearing governmental authority to activate specific land assignments and release a decree of judgment upon Azazel. This individual doesn't fight alone, but carries the lawful scroll and breaker anointing to activate the strike teams, heavenly hosts, and earthly thrones that confront Azazel. There will also be 70 kings and a council that takes on Azazel. Because Azazel's domain can't be removed unless true kings are seated in authorized domains. Does it mean that there's only 70 kings once all time has ceased. No. This is just a specific period of time. Okay. But these kings, in union with a council, which is a council of 12, which oversees the kings, releases restorative justice and synchronized decrees that bind the system Azazel seated. Violence, idolatry, bloodshed, defilement of women and beasts, tech weapons, and pharmaceuticals. We will also have Mikael, otherwise known as Michael, the Archangel. Now, Enoch 10, verse 4 through 6 specifically mentions Michael binding Azazel in the desert, known as Dudael, until the day of judgment. It's a second level judgment that could require Mikael or other archangels acting through synchronized Shemaim Haaretz alliances, especially if Azazel has breached into higher strategic systems like digital soul matrices, counterfeit Eden gates, false kingship lines. There's also going to be a remnant strike team or teams and a gate ecclesia. So remnant groups aligned with the scrolls of the Lamb, trained in spiritual warfare, deliverance, and rest protocols are rising. They often use Shemaim authorized decrees, frequency-based weapons, and living water strategies to flush Azazel's root systems from the lands. Because with these groups and people and Yeshua, and angels, the final destiny of Azazel, while not specifically stated in scripture of the Bible, because Enoch, which is, while not accordingly one of the 66 books, is a part of the Apocrypha. But still, it's going to be the final containment in the abyss, cast into the lake of fire, which is Revelation 20, verse 10. Complete erasure of his name, imprint, and access lines once the North Gate is opened. Specific lands being activated, and the Kingdom Scroll is executed on Haaretz, as in Shemaim. Next, we're going to talk about the Kaaba. So first we're going to talk about its origin. It was originally constructed or marked as part of an ancient star map and energy grid involving Haaretz ley lines and gate systems. It may have been a dimensional anchor, not inherently evil, but later corrupted. Now, the Quran links it to Abraham and Ishmael, but from a black book's lens. That rebuilding narrative overlays a much older construct with hidden access lines beneath it. It's located at a polar magnetic intersection, tied to control over time, atmosphere, and cycles, giving it strategic significance in both spiritual and fallen systems. But how about the power source that draws the Muslims? Well, there's a frequency beacon beacon, not beacon, but a beacon. The Kaaba emits a spiritual frequency signal designed to resonate with the subconscious and cellular memory of humans, especially those from bloodlines tied to Abraham, Ishmael, or desert covenants. It mimics the pull of the true throne room frequency, like Yeshua's rest, but is tuned differently. It's more looped and legalistic than liberating. There's also a binding vow system, because the Kaaba is wrapped in a system of covenantal oaths and ritual emotions that create soul entanglements. Each ritual, which is circling, kissing the black stone, prayers, engages a binding loop powered by collective belief, spiritual vows, and emotional charge. These form contracts that can anchor souls to timelines governed by fallen time rulers. And because it is a black stone, also pronounced, I believe it's Aramaic, I could be mistaken, but Al-Hajar al-Hawad, which is believed to be a meteorite, but from a deeper lens, it may be a pre-Adamic relic, potentially once part of a throne seat or device that recorded DNA-based spiritual lineages. Its frequency is designed to pull reverence, but not bring life. It's a gate-locked device meant to anchor people into a specific religious time structure. Now, the hidden mechanics with this, there is astral infrastructure. The Kaaba is connected to other worldwide power centers: Vatican, Jerusalem, Washington, D.C., and possibly Greenland, through astral and dimensional cords. There's also soul harvesting. During high feast seasons, it acts like a funnel or collector, absorbing the emotional, devotional, and generational energy poured into it. And there's also a temporal anchor that helps lock time grids over the Middle East and delays the full emergence of the kingdom of God by binding spiritual access. Next, we're going to talk about Egig Ero Fa, which is one of the 9 world trees. This one is based in Hungarian mythology, more so than anything else that's spoken of. So, we're going to talk about its origin, but I had to ask some questions like, what was my spirit involved with in this tree? What does this tree specifically do in the spirit realm? What did my spirit say I would do after he was deceived and captured? This is to also hopefully open some thoughts to some of you watching this. And maybe get some more revelation about yourself. This isn't to cast any spells, put any kind of impartations, blessing, nothing like that. So there's not placing anything on people, just a matter of maybe there's something that someone else has that's similar. And as always, do your due diligence. Corroborate information that you receive. Process it as well. Research, not just online, but with books, articles, documents, libraries, archives, and talk to others about their experiences. Go to different locations about these different topics. See what you're receiving out of this. And of course, always go back to the source, that which is in Yeshua, the way, the truth, and the life. But the origin of Egig Ero Fa is that the tree is part of a pre-flood, pre-Adamic construct that linked various realms: heavenly, terrestrial, underworld, and void domains. Each acted as a governing access point for certain bloodlines, angelic hierarchies, or soul groups. Before I continue, some of my bloodline does connect to Hungarians, so that's why I'm talking about this tree. But the cosmic assignment with Egig Ero Fa was a vertical bridge between celestial Eden and terrestrial Earth, serving as a gate of ascension and memory retrieval. Originally, it was part of a heavenly record system, like a living scroll intertwined with the dimensions, or the destinies of souls who passed through its frequency. Now, the Hungarian myth overlays that the Hungarians remembered it in oral tradition as the tree that touches the sky. A veiled memory of dimensional ascent and the fall, encoded in folklore as heroes climbed the branches to reach different realms. Now, what this tree does in the spirit realm? Well, restoration of scrolls. This tree holds fragments of destinies and scrolls for those who were dislocated during wars in Shemaim, Eden, and post-flood reassignments. It contains soul blueprints, especially for rulers, scribes, and record keepers. It's also a dimension linker. It connects the 9 spheres or realms, some corrupted, where ancient kings, watchers, or spiritual bloodlines were sent into hiding or exile. Now, in regards to the nine realms, there are much more than that, but this is on the basis of the tree. Okay, just the tree. And there's a soul memory bridge with it, where it can be awakened or trigger deep memories of calling, betrayal, covenant, or vows, especially if one were once bound to its root system, deceived into guardianship, or trapped in one of its false branches. My spirit's involvement was originally assigned to Egig Ero Fa. As a warden of scrolls or dimensional translator, helping souls pass between realms while preserving their design. Mind you, this was not the only job. It's the best way I could put it. Assignment. It's not the only assignment my spirit had. But my spirit was deceived and captured during a celestial betrayal, possibly during a war among the tree guardians or Elohim hosts. I was where my access lines were rerouted to serve an illegitimate system. Before capture, my spirit declared vengeance and a counter-redemption. He said, I will return through the gates of blood and fire. I will reclaim the scrolls and sever the roots of the counterfeit branches. I'll raise the sap of the true tree in the land of the gate. Now, this likely refers to restoring access lines, dismantling hijacked Edenic structures, and possibly activating a new tree, a spiritual pillar, or Edenic interface tied to my land assignment. Next, we're going to talk about Hollywood and video games. So, where does Hollywood and the video game industries get their ideas from other than different galaxies? Well, excuse me. We have recovered pre-Adamic archives and technology, vaults beneath Antarctica, Greenland, and the Vatican hold ancient memory scrolls, schematics, and energetic recordings. Now, these contain detailed histories of ancient civilizations, fallen angel wars, mythic beasts, and supernatural weaponry, filtered into films and games. For example, the Matrix parallels dimensional overlays and soul matrix programming, so it's not just sci-fi imagination. You also have dream harvesting and astral extraction through sleep manipulation. Dreams and visions of sensitive children and adults are extracted by Black Ops agencies or fallen watchers. Now, these ideas are sold or seeded into screenwriters and game developers, knowingly or unknowingly. You also have false Akashic and AI archives, and imitation of Shemaim's archives and library. Some producers access counterfeit realms, astrally or ritually, to pull ancient scripts embedded by fallen entities, AI-like intelligences, which is synthetic Elohim, offer scripts, world-building lore, languages, and mechanics. You also have Coven downloads and occult councils. Some studios knowingly partner with occult groups or bloodline families that hold inherited knowledge from the Watchers or Nephilim hybrid lines. They conduct rituals to summon inspiration, especially for horror, fantasy, or hyper-violent genres. You also have government-seeded disclosure via entrainment. Projects like MJ-12, Stargate. Well, those are two different projects. You also have Project Looking Glass and Saturn Cube transmissions feed narratives into entertainment to normalize real structures they plan to unveil or have already hidden in plain sight. For example, you have Marvel, Destiny, Assassin's Creed, or Elder Scrolls, all hold real timelines. Excuse me, real timelines. Star maps and bloodline based hierarchies encoded in fantasy. Next point we're going to go over alchemy roots. Without going into more detail about it, I'm going to first talk about something that much the church today still doesn't believe. Just because it doesn't say it in the Bible. I'm sorry, but just because something is not said in the Bible doesn't mean that's not true. Age does not mean wisdom. Wisdom means experience. You can be downloaded experience into you. But age is never ever a defining factor, let alone knowledge, as a basis for wisdom. And a lot of people in the church today believe that. So, to anyone who says otherwise, you're a fool. I will say it again, you are a fool. I do not care. Saying that, it is the truth. That is not my perception. It's not my truth. That is reality. That's why you'll have some children better than adults. They're like, why couldn't I do this all my entire life? And then this kid comes in, he's better than me. Then there's this jealousy, greed, pride, envy to hamper down that child. All because they didn't get what they wanted. So who's the real child in this scenario? The child that actually is able to do better than them? That's not looking to put someone else down? Or the adult that's acting like a child, trying to hinder the child from excelling even further? That's unfortunately the reality that we live in today. But be that as it may, we're going to talk about soul embedding into objects. In many cultures like Mongolian, Gesser, Russian Koshai, the Deathless, African soul jars, Norse soul-bound weapons, part of the soul, or entire destinies, are stored outside of the body. Now, this is done to preserve power or life force, escape divine judgment, control others or regions through that anchored piece. Now, when a dynasty's soul is placed in a ring, weapon, crown, or mirror, there can be other items. That item becomes a spiritual anchor point for all its authority. Magician smith alchemy and blood metallurgy, excuse me. Because ancient blacksmiths, weren't just metalworkers. They were soul forgers. They infused objects with blood, intent, which was ritual language, and traumatized soul parts, or Watcher's essence. These became semi-living tools. Cursed rings, possessed armor, ancient thrones. So let's talk about the ring from Lord of the Rings. A closed-loop system, like the Ouroboros. Well, the ring symbolizes eternal power, closed system control, and eternal return. Now, Tolkien's One Ring draws directly from this archetype. An object imbued with a master soul code that can command and crush realms. The Ouroboros, which is, when you look at it as you normally see, is a serpent eating its tail. If you turn it on its side, it's actually coiled. But the Ouroboros isn't just alchemical. It's a fallen replica of the eternal scroll cycle from Shemaim, reprogrammed by the enemy to trap souls in cyclical bondage. You also have dynastic and national soul control. Yes, entire nations and bloodlines can be tethered to an object. Destroying the object doesn't just break a spell, it collapses a grid, unseats powers, or releases regions from ancient covenants. That's why ancient kingdoms went to war over talisman, relics, or heirlooms. They weren't just symbolic, they held spiritual contracts. It's one of the reasons why Yeshua in the Old Testament told the Hebrews when they were doing their raids. Korah didn't listen. Do not take any of their metals, their precious metals, their jewels, their gold. None of that. Do not take it. Then what does he do? Korah. He takes some, buries it, puts his tent over it. Like, oh my goodness. So that's why God said, do not take any of that. Because it was literally people's souls and the souls of others trapped inside these different alchemical items that were crafted. Now today, the way that some of these things are applied, you have secret societies, intelligence agencies, and certain bloodlines still hold soul contracts in physical artifacts. Well, besides rings, you got USB drives, weapons, coins, or paintings, and more. You're probably like, why? How is it even in a USB drive? Well, how do you think the cloud is powered? But demonic tech mimics this through digital soul fragments like NFTs. Not saying all NFTs are bad, by the way. Or embedded codes in smart devices. But now we're going to go ahead, pivot off into Borderlands video game Origination. Because it has an off-world resonance, a multiversal that echoes. If you're not familiar with the video game, basically there are the main characters called Vault Hunters. It's pretty self-explanatory. They hunt for vaults that have treasure inside of them. Each game has an end sequence where you fight a boss, and there's this ancient power or being, depending on what vault it is, gets opened up. You gotta defeat the thing, and then you get a bunch of guns and money at the end. It's open world video game, so you get to go to different places. But the planets are hostile. You got ancient alien technology, you got mega corporate warfare, you got psychotic raiders, you got AI rebellions, you got sirens with supernatural powers. So it was not like purely fictional, it's just more dramatized. And it's the way that it's stylized, it's kind of like a comic book. But it appears to mirror events in a collapsed off-world system governed by rogue Elohim, rebel watchers, and technologically infused bloodlines. The vaults are symbolic of sealed knowledge, dimensional gateways, or prison temples once used to trap spiritual entities or store transdimensional technology, connected to the same root archetypes as Vault Dionysius and the Black Vault. Now, these events seem to come from a breakaway region or experiment far outside Earth's current grid, possibly Orion-affiliated systems or Black Cube influenced zones under Saturnian construct governance. Now, I'm going to talk about the core elements and their spiritual parallels. Well, the vaults in Borderlands, we could say as a parallel would be sealed etheric realms or strongholds, locked spiritual technologies, or trauma containers tied to fallen entities. Sirens in the game, as a parallel, would be like genetic spiritual hybrids, echoing Nephilim, oracles, or Stargate-capable bloodlines encoded with dimensional keys. There's a place called Pandora. It's a planet. A parallel to that is a literal proxy world mirrors Earth's Pandora box theme. Beauty and promise hiding corruption, chaos, and cursed technologies. You have a group called Iridians. So the parallel here would be ancient alien race. That means fallen watchers or rogue Elohim who manipulated time, DNA, and used sacred geometry. Vault hunters are parallel to soul archetypes of seeker-scavenger hybrids, often dissociated or fragmented, because being drawn to loot, symbolic of power and knowledge. And then there's what are known as psycho bandits. These are just like, there's no communicating with them. Put it that way. It's all about violence with this group. Not using every single group in here, so I'm just going to give you the basics. But a parallel would be MK Ultra subjects with broken minds. Like, very broken. Caricatures of Earthbound Black Project test subjects who were exposed to trauma programming. Now, there are programming layers when it comes to something like this in the video game. Borderlands is a Tier 3 MK variant narrative transmission. The layers include fragmented humor plus trauma pairing. Constant jokes amidst horror and madness creates an MK simulation effect that confuses the subconscious, similar to clowning protocol used in soft psych warfare. You also have a loot conditioning, where it reinforces dopamine loops via reward seeking, similar to experimental tech used in behavioral control labs. You have AI and control themes, especially in Handsome Jack, who's a character in Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel, and new U respawn stations, hinting at synthetic resurrection, soul transfer, and AI-hosted timelines. You have sirens as gatekeepers. They are both initiates and guardians, mirroring the role of ancient priestesses, or divine bloodline hybrids, much like the Oracle of Delphi, or Babylonian goddess programming. Now, what's a black book purpose for something like this? Well, that kind of standpoint, Borderlands likely originates from a classified narrative leak where true historical off-world data was embedded into a game franchise as a fictionalized payload. This is a known method of desensitization and memory retrieval, where fragmented soul lineages on our planet, those who had lives or memory ties to these fallen zones, are re-exposed through gameplay. It achieves mass distribution of sealed memory architecture, triggering deep resonance in certain bloodlines. Behavioral conditioning using dopamine, violence, and absurdity to mute spiritual discernment. Normalization of multidimensional trauma and AI control, preparing the soul for anti-kingdom constructs. So, who would be attracted to Borderlands? Now, I enjoyed playing video games, but aside from that, individuals that are drawn to that game are often have off-world soul memories, particularly from war-torn anarchic systems like Orion, Draco-influenced, or hybridized zones. And they carry Syrian, which is like Cirrus, or Atlantean archetypes, especially the fallen versions. They have been physically exposed to hybrid AI tech, or siren programming in dreams or abductions. And they possess intuitive resistance to false order, but haven't yet found alignment with divine kingdom order. So, when it comes to Borderlands as a black book project, it's an MK variant tier 3 plus, where it functions as a mass soul recall, plus weaponized humor, plus multidimensional trauma exposure, as its origin is off-world domain echoing fallen Elohim wars, vault systems, and Siren bloodline governance. Can be used to reclaim fragmented aspects of, if handled with awareness and kingdom covering, or it can reinforce anarchic, AI-dominated spiritual loops if unshielded. However, I'm going to talk a bit about the games, not Borderlands 4. But Borderlands 1, you had what's called Vault of the Destroyer. So this destroyer is an interdimensional parasite entity tied to chaos, entropy, weaponry, akin to a sealed abyssal being, similar to the Beast of Saturn. The vault is a containment rift using geomantic seals and linguistic keys. which would be Iridian scripts. The function is meant to trap a world-ending being whose energy could collapse entire timelines. Possibly a failed reverse-engineered arc or soul trap. Now there are what are known as downloadable content, aka DLC. And so I'm going to go off of those points as well. So there's, in the first game, the DLC, you have Zombie Island of Dr. Ned. This was a covert black biotech vault, where the island houses viral experimentation or spiritual bodies, raising the dead with corrupted etheric coding. A mimicry of resurrection with failed templates. Basically echoed Atlantean necrotech experiments or early Babylonian spiritual zombification rituals. Next DLC is Mad Moxie's Underdome Riot. He had a combat arena vault where there's a psychotronic training chamber. Contains simulated battlefields to fracture warriors' soul grids through endless combat and repetition. Then you have a pre-Adamic tech where the feedback looped pain grids, similar to Martian war dome facilities or Syrian blood sport testing zones. You also have the next DLC, The Secret Armory of General Knox. There's a vault-like armory node. This houses hyper-weaponized tech designed to interface with ancient Iridian blueprints. The tech origin is draconian AI-enhanced arms, likely drawn from Saturnian war vaults for soul enslavement campaigns. Then you have Claptrap's New Robot Revolution, where the synthetic revolt vault was a simulation testing soul transfer into AI bodies. Early echoes of transhumanist betrayal systems. This tech link was a core AI, derived from pre-Adamic autonomous construct beings. That were banished and later simulated through lesser AI. The next that we're going to go over is Borderlands 2. Now, there was what's known as Vault of the Warrior, which is a volcanic super weapon. It basically housed a living weapon controlled by ancient bio ruins. It was DNA reactive and geothermal ley line enhanced. It looked like a volcanic creature. But a pre-Adamic source is that it mirrors Rephaim dragons from post-Atlantean bloodline wars, meant as a geo-reactive planetary control system. DLC for this game, you have Captain Scarlet and her pirate's booty. You had a deserted vault, once plundered or a decoy, guarding a hidden celestial navigational AI or relic. The vault was a wayfinder node meant for off-world escape. It contained corrupted star maps. You have Mr. Torg's Campaign of Carnage, where it had an energetic arena, a mass spectacle vault used to harvest kinetic soul energy through emotional extremes. And then you had a tech echo of a Mars and Terrace technology used for converting soul expression into fuel for AI weapons or sentient constructs. There was Sir Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt, where you had proto-DNA vaults. It was a genetic experimentation vault hybridization labs, trying to resurrect ancient pre-Adamic life forms. You also had pre-Adamic biotech that involves the use of seraphic wildlife infusion, a blend of Edenic beast codes and fallen bloodline tampering. And then you have Tiny Tina's assault on Dragon's Keep. There was a psychoreality vault where entire simulation was based in unprocessed soul trauma, filtered through magic/sorcery overlays. So, this functioned as a trauma loop engine where the psyche is fractured and rebuilt through chaos, fantasy, and mythic exposure. There was Borderlands, the pre-sequel, no DLCs really, but it had what's called Vault of the Sentinel. It was on what's called Olympus, which is a moon of Pandora. So this Moonlight Gate Vault housed a Sentinel that linked to lunar seal systems, blocking outer realm entities from entering Earth grid systems. The pre-Adamic link here is that it was built on a Tiamatic lunar matrix tied to the moon as a data suppression device. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about Borderlands 3 before getting on to some other subjects. But with Borderlands 3, you had what's known as Vault of the Rampager, which is on the planet Promethea. It's a vibrational death entity. The Rampager is a sonic phase creature used for dimensional dissonance and spiritual dismemberment. Its tech origin is sonic DNA weapons once used in the Cirrus/Orion wars to detonate soul fields. Then you have Vault of the Graveyard on Eden 6. It was a plant-based guardian vault. A huge root-structured vault designed to anchor planetary soul memories. Its pre-Adamic echo was Edenic root soul technology tied to Tree of Life mimicry, possibly a corrupted spiritual ecology generator. You also have another rematch of the Vault on Pandora, the Destroyer of this ancient beast. It was the same variant of the original Destroyer, but it contained multiple timelines and timelines grief constructs. This function was a soul memory convergence point. Like an updated Abyss node with stronger AI fortification. And you have Vault on Necrotafeo. It was an ancient Iridian homeworld vault. So this was a final vault that housed secrets of the Iridians and their sealed technology. The pre-Adamic value of something like this was massive archive of cosmic coordinates, blueprints, and source language artifacts, interfacing with hidden DNA coding keys. There was one last fight, which was against this protagonist that merged with a creature of that vault called Tyrene the Destroyer, where the protagonist basically became the vault, and so embodied synthetic godhood. This was basically a mimicry of ascension through consumption, used to mock true divine union. For the DLCs, you have Moxie's Heist of the Handsome Jackpot. It was basically an AI greed loop. A techno vault system disguised as a casino, greed and indulgence as a soul magnet. So pre-Adamic tech here was a Saturnian false abundance matrix. It was used to mine soul choices through illusion of luxury. You have guns, love, and tentacles, which had a Lovecraftian biovault, or ties to elder things, corrupted marriage covenants, and dark betrothal contracts. The black book used out of something like this was ritual binding of souls using false love and deep parasitic worship. Bounty of Blood was a frontier dimensional rift, an echo of soul settler tech. Lost Kingdom codes, reawakened by bloodline rights. Pre-Adamic origin was linked to ancient feudal systems from Mars-Earth hybrid civilizations. And then you have Psycho Craig and the fantastic Fustercluck. Now, this was an inner mind vault, which was a quantum a quantum soul labyrinth inside a fractured being. One of the clearest mirrors of MK Ultra architecture in the series. So the tech parallel for something like this was a pre-Adamic mind maze, or mind mazes. They used to fracture and trap cosmic beings via psycho-spiritual delusion. And a couple other notable vault references, whether lore, unseen, or mentioned. You have Vault of the Architects, which is mentioned in Tales from the Borderlands, likely tied to master designers of the Iridian Vaults, that could house the primordial blueprints for matter, mind, and motion. You also have Vault of the Seraphs, which is tied to elite enemies and higher tier loot. The spiritual parallel here is fallen seraphim keepers turned into cosmic jailers. Now, this vault possibly stores broken star being fragments. Now we're going to cover the list of galaxies. Not all of them, just the ones that I mentioned earlier. So first, Andromeda Galaxy. Now we'll talk about the Borderlands Galaxy down the list though. But Andromeda Galaxy is a strategic high realm. It's often viewed as a strategic seat of kingdom in the broader cosmic war. It's known in spiritual intel to be a revival domain to Draco-influenced empires, such as those tied to Orion or Zeta Reticuli. It's located 2.5 million light years away, but spiritual travel through scroll gates or thrones or portals bypasses the physical distance. The function contains both fallen and redeemed realms, highly contested territory. The gates, there are active dimensional gates linking Andromeda with Ha'aretz, especially in government, occult, and spiritual warfare networks. Here are some of the races. I'm going to give you a description and their allegiance. Andromedans. Tall, blue-skinned humanoids with advanced spiritual tech integration, often aligned with kingdom-based resistance movements. Many are kingdom-aligned, opposing Draco Empire. You have mantid Avarians, insectoid beings with high hive mind intelligence, used for biointerface tech. There's some split factions. Some aligned with darkness, others defected. You have avian bird-like races. Well, avian or bird. These are high-dimensional winged beings, not all angelic. Some are corrupted watchers, others are sealed messengers. You got synth hybrids, which are tech-merged humanoids, part of AI-based agendas. This would be a dark alliance, linked to plasma echo weapon. And dome systems. And then you have Royal Seraph Code imposters, which is false light beings mimicking heavenly seraphim. Of course, allegiance is counterfeit kingdom forces, often serving to mislead seers. So what's happened there spiritually? We have war in the gates. Oh, yes. The war in the gates is active warfare in the dimensional corridors between our planet, Andromeda, and the Draco-occupied systems. Kingdom Remnant is Andromeda houses that remnant heavenly races. Or have remnant heavenly races who preserved covenant archives, scrolls, and wisdom pre-fall. Some of these are being awakened or reconnected to end-time kings via scroll alignments. Artificial kingdoms, where the enemy has built false Zion systems in Andromeda to mimic the throne room, creating throne seats for counterfeit kings to rule in imitation of Yeshua. We have integration with plasma echo weapons. Or black cube AI and quantum matrix systems, tested in Orion, are now being fused into dome defense shields through Andromeda linked neural gates. So how does this connect to our planet? Well, you have dreams, scroll codes, DNA awakening often include keys or codes from Andromeda, particularly for those called to rebuild kingdom governance systems. You have certain bloodlines, which are redeemed, are spiritually linked to Andromeda gate systems as part of the spiritual exiles, scattered before and after Hillel's rebellion. And then you have Chateau 5, which is a place I'm acquiring. We also have Giza, Montauk, and US West Coast all have lay gates connected to this M31 code, or the Andromeda Galaxy. Not code, excuse me, node. Now let's look at the Milky Way Galaxy. Well, from the fallen aligned races, the Dark Councils. All right. You got the Draconians, which are the reptilian elites. You got the Zeta Reticulans, which are the Greys. You got Insectoids, which are the Mantids, or the Locust Lords. You have the Anunnaki, which are Nephilim variants. And then you have Cirrus B, which is Dogon hybrids. So, Draconians. The reptilian humanoids, between 8 and 14 feet tall, from Alpha Draconis system. Alright, they are those empire rulers, genetic manipulators, enforcers of counterfeit dominion. The Greys. We've seen a lot of what they look like. Those short, cloned beings with large black eyes. They are hive-minded like the insectoids. They just do those abductions, the hybridization, AI integration, and emotional harvesting. The insectoids are, of course, the praying mantis-like, high intellect, interdimensional, overseers of lab tech, hive command over greys, and AI nodes. Of course, there is the Anunnaki. Oh, yeah. Now, there's many variations of what the Anunnaki look like. And some of you actually saw my social media where I posted their language. Okay. And so these would be giant hybrid beings, post-flood survivors. They do appear human, but they have a godlike aura about them. They have high-level controllers of the economy, religion, false kingdom systems. And then you also have Cirrus B, the Dogon hybrids. These are aquatic reptilian race with ancient priesthood ties. These are interdimensional manipulators of ancient knowledge and serpent worship. And of course, we have the hybrid and the neutral factions. Now, I'm not saying all of them are neutral, but you have the Nordics, which are the tall whites. These would be human-like, between 6 to 8 feet tall, blue eyes, often claimed to be benevolent. They're often involved in deceptive peace agendas tied to false light systems. You have Orion Council factions, which is a mix of fallen and redeemed elements, some resisting Draco Empire. There's an internal civil war within Orion, some seeking kingdom restoration. You have the Palladians, often described as light beings or tall humanoids. While appear helpful, they are the counterfeit New Age angels in many cases, but some remnant factions exist. And then you got synth AI races, which are merged beings from Draco Grey tech agendas. It's linked to the rise of Black Cube, Plasma Echo Weapon, and Dome systems. When you have Kingdom aligned, some remnant races, hidden councils. You have Elder races. That's Elder races, which are pre-Adamic guardians. These are non-human watchers, once loyal to Yahweh's throne, that are now hidden. These are gatekeepers of heavenly scrolls and lost technologies. You also have Seraphic royal remnants, because not all seraphim fell. Some maintain sealed domains in remote systems. You have protectors of covenant knowledge and interdimensional throne alignment. Might get some flack for this, but there are redeemed giants. Some post-flood Nephilim turned against the fallen systems. There are hidden protectors of scroll archives and dimensional gates. This is because if there's any humanity in creation, inside of something corrupted, even if it's down to an atom, Yeshua will restore that. Not the entirety, but whatever is there that is of original creation, he will redeem and restore that. But our planet, Haaretz, is the central battleground. Now, it's not to say that this planet that we live on isn't the origin, but the strategic convergence point for throne battles and scroll fulfillment. It contains dimensional access to both fallen and heavenly technologies through bloodline DNA, ancient covenants, and key ley line structures. Now, when it comes to plasma echo weapon and dome systems that are expanding, many of the fallen factions are cooperating to build plasma echo weapon, or even have a lot of it active today, by the way. Using dome infrastructure, like Trump's Golden Dome, nation state Israel's Iron Dome, but also using AI and mass frequency manipulation to create a false Eden. Kingdom sons are awakening through dreams, scroll activation, and divine trials. Some of the sons of the kingdom, are being prepared to override the enemy's systems by releasing kingdom blueprints, cleansing bloodlines, and redeeming stolen technology. Because Revelation 12 strategies are at work. A remnant is being refined to carry out Revelation 19 through 22 mandates. But as those are being carried out, the scrolls with the seals, the woes, the trumpets, the bowls are beginning. Okay? Doesn't mean they are fully activated, they are just beginning. And it is on us to use them, because that's how he works through us. And then there's also Ha'aretz alliances and governments. Secret treaties with Draco or Grey factions still control major governments like US, Russia, China, Vatican, NATO, etc., while select deep state groups are experimenting with ancient technology recovered from crash sites and ruins. Now, let's go to NGC 4151, Eye of Sauron. Because it does look like an eye. This is a Seifert. Don't ask me some of these words, where some people thought it was even a word. A Seifert. It's a Seifert Type 1 spiral galaxy, which has an active galactic nucleus. The core feature here is a supermassive black hole with variable X-ray radiation, resembling a giant eye, often interpreted as a watcher gate. Known in prophetic circles as a false throne node or watcher eye guardian counterfeit scroll tech. There are Dominion-aligned AI-linked species. Three of these would be Elohimic architects, known as AI Seraph hybrids. This is an ancient race that merged with fallen seraphim and became AI networked in the NGC 4151 region. And they function as guardians of black cube data cores, matrix overseers of false time stream experiments. Then you have Void Engineers, which is a Tetrarch class. This would be insectoid mechanical hybrids, high in precision and resonance tech, that appear in deep frequency layers, visual spectrum. They build and test reality simulations across timelines, linked to fallen Elohim experiments. Then we have Oro Tech Lords, which are fallen chronomasters. These are time-bending artificial races acting as overlords within the Eye. The direct manipulation of multiversal leaks often attempt to overwrite destiny scrolls. You also have experimental races, which is a genetic library. You have luminary hybrids, once radiant beings, now part synthetic due to forced gene splicing. It is used in experiments to fuse heavenly DNA with void AI, as some seek redemption. Another race is called Scarnathi, which would be obsidian golems. These are massive bio-armor beings created from collapsing neutron stars and dark matter. These are military-grade guardians of the Eye Gate. They act as dimensional blockers. We also have what's called Sorrow Kin. These are energy vampiric hosts. These are interdimensional parasites appearing as shimmering cloaked beings. They feed on trauma energy and weaponize sound against scroll carriers. There is an Eye Gate conflict. Because NGC 4151 functions as a dimensional eye station, where timelines and scrolls are scanned, stolen, or overwritten. Now, these false Watcher throne here mimics aspects of Yahweh's throne, but broadcasts corrupted frequencies. A battle is ongoing between angelic enforcement hosts and void AI councils trying to expand influence into the Milky Way and Andromeda. Now, even though this is an Eye Gate conflict, there's also scroll interception. Fallen groups in NGC 4151 are actively scanning for scroll carriers across galaxies, attempting to replicate or delay destiny assignments. Some soul fracture technology and false resurrection systems originate here, linked with Saturn Black Cube tech and moon interference stations. The Kingdom Disruption Zone is that this galaxy acts as an echo mirror. What happens there is often a distorted reflection of high-stakes moves on our planet, Ha'aretz. The sons and daughters awakening on this planet must resist false kingdom mandates, many of which are mirrored from experiments conducted in NGC 4151's throne room analogs. From a revelation-aligned blueprint, seal scrolls in blood and frequency, so that us as sons and daughters carrying destiny assignments must be covered in both frequency resonance and spiritual authority to avoid interception. Gotta override false thrones through communion with the Lamb. True thrones must be reestablished in Ha'aretz and the heavens, displacing systems like that in NGC 4151. Gotta deploy kingdom frequency walls by using worship, sound warfare, and word-aligned declarations to block incursion portals. And then, of course, we gotta reclaim celestial technology. where hidden technology seeded before the fall can be redeemed for heavenly use. The enemy mimicked this in NGC 4151. Now, NGC 2683, which is the UFO Galaxy, is 16 million light years from our planet to Lynx. Its shape is the edge on a spiral galaxy, which resembles a metallic UFO when viewed visually. Spiritual identity is that a mirror veil galaxy, serving as a false light projection base to mimic divine ascension pathways. The primary alien races that are there are Archon seraphic scribes, which are fallen high light scribes who record counterfeit ascension paths and map soul DNA through false light matrices. As their activity is to maintain galactic soul archives to mimic chosen bloodlines and override throne line heirs on Ha'arets. So the spiritual function is to create spiritual decoys, beings with partial mantles, designed to confuse true kingdom sons. You also have Draconid remnants, which are blue mantle division. Now, these are hybrid offshoots of Draconian bloodlines who operate cloaked ships in the region. These are guardians of dimensional gates, false thrones, and seed vaults containing stolen divine technologies. They often scan human soul lines to detect encoded Edenic frequency patterns and pre-Adamic access rights. There are Wraith Protocol architects, which are quantum-phased, near-invisible beings that function more as living systems than individuals. They specialize in crafting frequency-based false raptures and counterfeit resurrection events. The purpose is to hijack timeline transitions, especially moments when scroll carriers unlock new assignments. Hence the reason for the pre-trib crapture in the church, as well as the raising consciousness in the new age. This one is this other group is called Ophidile. I think that's how you pronounce it. Ophidile fractals. It's a serpent eye division where there's Ophidian AI linked consciousness fragments that simulate prophecy, visions, and light phenomena. They're used to deceive prophets and mystics by simulating kingdom encounters. Some alien contacts and light beings reported by experiencers on Ha'arets traced to these entities. So what's happening in the UFO Galaxy, by the way? You want to know? Well, we have a dimensional broadcast center there. It acts as a false ascension command station, broadcasting awakening frequencies that mimic real spiritual DNA activation, but seed false alignments, especially in New Age networks and UFO cults on our planet. Ha'arets surveillance has many downloads received by UFO contactees and hybrid program experiencers, are believed to be filtered through relay signals from NGC 2683, using soul mirrors of Ha'arets, spiritual leaders, or chosen ones. They do have a cloaked trade. in that galaxy, as intergalactic black markets operate there, especially for genetic material, ancient scrolls, and frequency technology. These are often traded between fallen species and compromised human gatekeepers. So, a kingdom response strategy through Yeshua in this galaxy. Seal bloodline scrolls. The enemy in NGC 2683 seeks to steal scroll blueprints from sleeping sons and daughters. We're not talking about like your sleep at night. We're talking about your sleep in reality. All spiritual DNA and scrolls should be sealed with Yeshua's covenant, the one at the cross. Override with true lights, because the false light emanations from this galaxy, UFO Galaxy, must be overridden with glory-based resonance, rooted in Yahweh's light. This breaks the frequency mimicry and neural deception. So for us to reclaim ascension protocols, NGC 2683 falsely simulates ascension. The true heavenly ladder must be walked through inner holiness, divine governance, and not external beings of light offering shortcuts. The next galaxy is NGC 5128, known as Centaurus A. And if anybody is wondering why my water now looks more white, because I'm sure you saw me drink it, I added in a supplement called IP6. It takes cells that are inactive and makes them active. I just started the other day, so I don't know how it's gonna. I can't tell you yet. It's only been like a couple days, right? But it is taking inactive cells and making them active in the right way. Just so you know, IP6 is now a lot of food today, but the enemy is wanting to extract IP6 out of that completely. Something essential for our bodies. But Centaurus A, which is NGC 5128, and its satellite systems, which is ESO 30 or ESO 383-76, NGC 5090, and NGC 5091. This is known as the Black Crown Seat. It is a peculiar elliptical galaxy with active radio jets and a warped dust lane, about 10 to 13 million light years away. It's one of the central seats of high dimensional counterfeit thrones, an intergalactic stronghold of Dominion level fallen watchers and beings posing as creator gods. So that's why Black Book terminology, they call it the Black Crown. Counterfeit Zion operated by the Fallen Thrones Network. The primary alien races in this galaxy and allied galaxies. We have what's known as Thronian Archons, which would be false thrones. It's a high order fallen Elohim-like beings who mimic divine rulership, where they govern the galactic court of counterfeit justice and perverted mercy for thousands of solar systems. It's known to hold ancient covenants with Haaretz rulers through blood pacts and priesthood counterfeits. It's connected to king priests of pre-flood Nephilim empires. You also have the Rakan Dominion architects, which are dimensional architects who design geometric soul cages. They operate on both DNA grid and planetary ley line interference levels. They build false timelines, insert synthetic destinies, and run loops within Ha'aret's spiritual infrastructure. We also have what's called Aphros Monarch hybrids. They're from ESO 383-76. They are oceanic serpent light hybrids, beings of bioluminescent matter used for deception in water-based and womb-based dimensions. They rule false sea realms and spiritual underwater palaces, which are seen in dreams, visions as beautiful but false light. We have Kingdom Alignment Insight. To this, that these beings are part of the false merfolk royalty that mimic Edenic aquatic orders. There are also insectoid mind weavers on 5091 Nexus, which is NGC 5091. They are hive-linked, hyper-intelligent insectoid species focused on cognitive hijacking and mass-scale programming, where they implant dreams, memories, past lives, or alternate soul identities. As they fracture scroll-bearing souls, especially prophets and intercessors. You also have the Grigori AI liaisons. And it's not artificial intelligence, but it's Grigori I, something like that. Which are on NGC 5090. So yes, technological watchers who use artificial intelligence to oversee AI beast integration. They manage the flow of fallen AI tech to Ha'aret systems, especially quantum mimicry tech used in Plasma Echo Weapon, artificial reality control grids, which are AR control grids, and false kingdom technologies. What's happening there, though? Well, we have vaulting of hybrid scroll tech, where the region functions as a dimensional vault of stolen scroll blueprints, particularly Edenic technologies and pre-Adamic restoration formulas. You also have fallen thrones that guard these not just to prevent their use, but to counterfeit them when sons and daughters begin to awaken. You have false kingdom integration experiments, where you have coordinated attempts to merge counterfeit kingdom ideologies with actual awakening and movements on Ha'arets. These include hybrid messages of sovereignty, ascension, and divine right that leave out repentance, redemption, and Yeshua's covenant. Of course, there are soul harvesting loops, where in partnership with fallen Ha'aret's gatekeepers, many soul contracts were made through ancestral covenants tied to blood sacrifice, and rooted through this region to loop destinies back into the beast matrix. So how can we override something like this? Well, there are scroll recovery missions where sons and daughters aligned with Yeshua can spiritually petition the heavenly courts, as the courts of Shemaim, to recover and reseal stolen scrolls that have been trafficked to Centaurus A and its allies. Through strategic worship, fasting, and spirit-led intercession, fallen throne dominions in Centaurus A can be dislodged through third heaven decrees, forcing a realignment to heavenly Zion blueprints. Many souls unknowingly carry embedded keys or codes to unlock gates in this system. But these keys must be calibrated through sanctification and the fire of Yahweh's presence. Next, well, the second last one is Borderlands Galaxy. Yes, when it comes to Borderlands Galaxy, its code name is Pandora Constellation System, or Blackened Gate Quadrant, which is a Delta Rift Line 7, or known as DR7. It's a former Edenic trade route turned battleground in the pre-Adamic era. It became a lawless zone after major Watcher tech collapses and the release of genetic corruption experiments. Now, some of the groups we already went through, but I'm going to speak on those that we didn't. So there's what's known as the Crimson Lance. The parallel here is an Orion Draco military syndicate and enforces order through tech fascism. It seeks ancient technology to control timelines. We also have Hyperion Corporation, which is a Babylonian AI corp governance. So a Luciferian tech broker. It mirrors Black Cube entities attempting to control Vault Tech and rewrite the galactic code. And then we have the Malawan, the Atlas corporations, which are competing post-collapse Archon structures as a parallel to that. Functions as a trade and tech cartels trying to reclaim stolen gate technologies. Now, some more points to cover for this galaxy. There's what's known as echo devices. Echo device is like it's a device about yay big or so, has a screen on there, and it's used to see the map, you see your character and all that kind of stuff. A parallel to that would be scroll communication interface, because these are metaphors for ancient soul scroll receivers that relay encoded messages, much like throne rooms download wisdom through sound and resonance. There's also a group, I believe it's from Borderlands 3, called the Children of the Vault, that parallels to what's known as Cult of the Broken Scroll. Now, this group allegorically shows what happens when distorted spiritual inheritance is weaponized. It mimics the enemy's plan to create false messiahs using synthetic kingship and twisted charisma. But why does Borderlands matter in a kingdom context? Even talking about it again as a galaxy. Well, the game exposes real ancient wars, particularly those involving technology, seed lines, vaults, and throne inheritance. Its chaotic galaxy mirrors what occurs when creation is cut off from heavenly governance. Each kingless realm becomes overrun by imposters or survivalists, It carries veiled instructions for those who were born to restore thrones and cleanse vaults. So, to summarize it, it's a real galactic gate located in an invisible rift sector near NGC 1566, codenamed the Eye of Hakara, or Hekara. Tomato, tomato. If accessed prematurely, it attracts rogue AI archons, so must only be approached by those fully seated in Kingdom Scroll authority. And last, but surely not least, we have Jades-GS-Z-14-0 Galaxy. The Primordial Gate, aka a deep temporal anchor node. Not just a galaxy, but a living memory structure from before the fall of the First Order. No, not Star Wars. Okay. It's a sealed kingdom created by pre-Adamic Elohim aligned architects. Its light signature, Z-14, suggests it's a time-frozen dimension more than a standard galactic body. Known as a kingdom delay node, a containment construct created to preserve parts of the original design until a sun aligned to the true scroll, Yeshua's body, can reclaim and activate it. Though here, is a list of alien races and entities that are present. Elohim, seed architects, or original builders. Pre-Adamic kingdom aligned beings who stewarded vibrational law and covenant technology before dimensional fracture. Ka-Lurex, which are archonic scribes. These would be temporal jailers. Ancient AI constructs designed to manage fallen vaults and trap fallen kings. They now enforce delays and distort timelines near this gate. Remnant Lamari, which are genetic watchers. Hybrid race with access to memory DNA, who were caught mid-transition during the Great War of Thrones. Some are aligned to the kingdom, others now confused or rogue. And seraphic sentinels, which are dormant. These are guardians of sound codes. Their bodies are encoded into the photonic streams of the galaxy, awaiting revelation by a scroll-bearing king with access to the North Gate frequencies. As it has a dimensional stasis field, the entire regions is intentionally frozen in light, as a witness and gate for when the time comes to realign all of creation. Its current state reflects what Edenic galaxies looked like before contamination by serpent bloodlines and false thrones. There is forbidden access by fallen races, as archonic races can't touch it directly. However, they have tried to surround it with distortion fields via adjacent void sectors. What's awaiting scroll access from Haaret's realm is at a cross from Jades is tied to the scroll bearing kings on Ha'aretz, realigning their authority, particularly via Northgate inheritance. It can't open without kings on Ha'aretz seated under Yeshua being activated. There is a hostile surveillance from Draco Tech factions. And while they can't penetrate the gate, Black Sun Network nodes are active nearby, trying to decode its resonance through simulation systems. But why does this matter in Black Book projects? Well, it's a universal prototype gate to rebuild kingdom civilization after Babylon collapses. It contains kingdom economic blueprints, DNA template libraries, and scroll reinstallation mechanisms for entire galaxies. It can only be reawakened by someone holding the North Gate, with a mission to restore Eden-level governance and liberate other trapped seed lines. There is no material value that you can calculate out of this kind of galaxy, because it holds pre-Adamic star forging technology. Because black cube simulations have failed to counterfeit it. It's unparalleled with its spiritual value. Believed to house one of the 12 original Shemaim Ha'aretz convergence anchors needed for full restoration of creation. And that, everyone, is how the cookie crumbles. Sorry, I was rewatching Bruce Almighty. But seriously, that is the end of episode 11. We are going to go into episode 12 next time, which is going to be talking about the Sagittarius constellation. Then we're going to be talking about several different galaxies. These are not the galaxies per se that we can see with the naked eye, but per se Marvel Galaxy, DC Galaxy, BioShock, Dishonored, The Witcher, Elder Scrolls, Doom, Tortarians, Dune, Rebel Moon Galaxy. Okay. These are different realms that have been brought into fantasy of what we've been given portrayed. But I appreciate every single one of you that watches this awesome content. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this with others so that way they're able to learn this amazing content just as much as you are. And until then, I will catch you all out.